I wanted to know if you could make any comments about your department's disdain for the First Amendment.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of the details of that case. I know that something happened, and I know that the gentleman was arrested, but other than that, I don't have any details or anything on that.
Yes, and he is quite the gentleman, which is quite astonishing that your fellow officers would commit such heinous acts of violence against him. Did you take an oath to uphold the Constitution?
I did.
You did. So at what point have you, I don't know, in your career, have you ever had the opportunity to arrest a corrupt officer?
I've never had.
Oh, would you like to take that opportunity now?
Well, our chain of command is looking into the incident, sir.
They're looking into, well, that man is sitting in jail and you guys crushed his head. So we'd like you to step that up if you don't mind.
It's out of my control.
Oh, yeah. Well, it would appear that being out of control is the department norm from what I've seen. Hello?
Yes.
Yes. So, are you familiar with case law such as Glick or even Turner versus Driver right there next door to you, same circuit, Fifth Circuit? You are aware that filming the police in public is protected right?
Yeah, I know you can film the police.
Yeah, so given the same situation, and I'm sure you've seen the video, what would you have done with that situation?
I have not seen the videos.
You should go to James Freeman, since that's the young gentleman that you guys took away from his family last night, and you should watch that video. So is it the department's policy to set up a 100-foot perimeter tape at a normal traffic stop?
Not a policy that I'm aware of.
So if you were on a traffic stop, would you and your fellow officers likely set up a 100-foot perimeter tape to keep a cameraman away?
I don't know what the situation was out there. Like I said, I can't comment on that situation specifically.
Well, I'm not asking you to comment on that situation specifically, but let's say that you have a traffic stop and there's a cameraman 25 feet away from you. Would you push him back 100 feet?
If he's not getting involved or interfering in what I'm doing and he's staying off to the side, then he can film as much as he would like.
That's an excellent answer. I can't tell you what a wave of relief that is to know that at least one officer within your department is not going to assault me for recording a traffic stop. So I want to thank you for that. I do appreciate that. Do you know the names of the officers that were involved in that situation?
I don't. Like I said, I don't know. I know it occurred, but I don't know any of the details on it. I'm in Phoenix, and that occurred in Tucson, so I don't know.
Okay. Oh, so the word does travel through the department. That's good to know.
Well, my office is the only one. My office here is the only one that's really staffed 24 hours a day, so my office is the one that's getting all the calls on it.
Uh-huh. Is that,
so
now, which number did, I dialed the 602-223-2212 number, is that correct?
Yes, that's good.
Okay.
That's my office. That's the duty office.
And I'm sorry, I for some reason my speaker wasn't on when I first called, and I didn't catch your name at the beginning of the call. Could you repeat it for me, please?
Yes, it's Trooper Hawkins.
Trooper Hawkins. Okay. Wow, your first name is Trooper. That's amazing. Your parents had the most amazing forethought. That's incredible. Wow, you should thank them. But you can affirm for me that normally you guys do allow people to film traffic stops from a reasonable
distance. As far as I'm aware.
Okay.
I haven't been told otherwise.
Okay. And are you aware there was a second man that was arrested there last night? Do you know anything about that? Was he released?
I don't know anything about that whole incident, so I don't know I know there was an original traffic stop, and then then the other gentleman showed up with his camera or something along those lines, and that's about all I know. I don't know what happened to the original traffic stop or anything like that.
Do you guys receive regular training?
I haven't had regular. I don't know what you mean by regular.
I guess, have you received First Amendment training? And approximately how often would you receive training on the First Amendment?
We've been told that that videotaping is allowed and stuff like that, but I couldn't give you how often. I don't even remember.
No,
it's brought up periodically.
Yeah, I had to have about 150 credit hours of intense nuclear power training to operate a nuclear power plant. And then I spent another about a year on my ship qualifying to operate the plant. So I guess that's about 5 years worth of intense education. How much training and experience do you have to become a state trooper?
You just have to have a high school education, as far as I know.
You guys, once you're a trooper, does the education stop there, or do you have continuing education?
Well, you go through the police academy, and then every year you do annual training.
Okay, annual training. And how many hours a year are you? I presume that you have to qualify to operate a firearm?
Yeah.
How many hours a year do you have to spend training on the gun range to operate a firearm?
We have 4 different shoots a year, and therefore they last 4 hours at a time.
So about 16 hours a year of weapons training is required?
Yeah.
In your experience?
That's what we do.
Okay.
That's what we do. What's required is you only have to qualify once a year, according, as far as I'm aware, to the post standards for the Peace Officer Standards and Training Board. You have to do 1 qualification a year, but we train, 4 times a year.
And then do any officers train on their own time as well?
I would imagine some of them are more, involved with firearms than some others.
And in your personal experience, how many hours do you tend to spend on the gun range in a given year?
At work, I do the 16 hours.
Oh, okay. You don't do any personal time? And then how many hours a year do you guys spend in the law library?
In the law library?
Yes.
None. I mean, I don't spend any specific hours in the law. We get updates when the laws change and whatnot.
Oh, okay. So 16 hours a year, man, is what 16 hours a year you do for learning how to put holes in people. But are you hole enforcement officers or law enforcement officers?
You know the answer to that question, sir.
Yes, I'm quite aware of the fact that you're actually hole enforcement officers, but does it seem a little odd that you don't train on the law as much as you train on making holes? When people leak, they die. You can't make people leak, right? It's frequently irreversible. Yeah, but learning the law is not irreversible. You can become educated on the law and enforce the law without having to make people leak. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying, since you do kind of work for me as a member of the public, I'm a little bit concerned that we're spending so much time and effort on tactics that include violence by their very definition. This would include things as benign as you might think as pain compliance. But when I asked you how much time you spend in a law library, you repeated my statement with a question mark. Do you think that as a law enforcement officer, you should be more of an expert on the law and less an expert on violence?
I'm aware of the laws that are enforceable.
You're aware of the laws that are enforceable?
Yeah.
Which ones specifically?
Any ones that pertain to my job. I have a whole law book here that I can look through and read off every one of them to you if you'd like. But
how many of them do you know?
I don't know a specific number, sir.
Okay. But you know how many hours you spend on the gun job. And my question to you, and this is somewhat rhetorical, and then you don't have to answer, but I think you should answer it in your own mind, is, do you actually know the law? And I'm not just asking you that question. I'm not putting you on the spot, and I appreciate the conversation. But I think that's a good general question. And I think that's a question that you should pose to your fellow officers. And I think that's certainly a question that the officers in last night's incident need to ask themselves. And I think that you guys need to ask each other those questions as a department. You guys really do spend an awful lot of time learning how to make people suffer, learning how to engage in acts of violence against people. And it's my experience, and I spend an awful lot of time in a courtroom as a civil rights activist. I've made case law several times. It's my experience that officers generally really don't know. I've actually had officers say, "What's a law library?" on the stand in court. So my feedback is that last night's incident could have been avoided with proper training. And And I think that your mindset is very different from the mindset of the officers that were involved in that traffic stop, and I appreciate that. But they were arrogant, they were rude, and they were wrong. And now a man sitting in jail separated from his family. So I do appreciate the conversation. I do. And I'm asking you to continue this conversation in whatever way that you can without, of course, losing your job, because we all know that good cops get pushed out if they're not careful. So that's my feedback to you, and I appreciate that you talked with me about it.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate you being, having a civil conversation and not, name calling and, well, the other sorts of things I've encountered today related to this issue. So. Well, when you wear the blue uniform, you get the feedback, and I'm certainly no stranger to name calling. I'm somewhat famous for my name calling. It's just I pick the tool and I want to use it, and it does sort of depend on how the person reacts. Right? Sometimes people, So for example, I don't know. Do you speak multiple languages? No, I don't.
Okay. Well, I speak English and I speak French primarily. And when there's a person that speaks Spanish, if you can speak Spanish, it's just sort of polite to speak Spanish with them. Would you agree?
If you know what they're saying.
Right. And so in somebody speaking French, it's polite for me to speak French with them. And it just so happens that when somebody speaks fucking stupid, I also happen to be fluent in fucking stupid. So sometimes officers deserve, and it's polite, I think, for me to speak to them in fucking stupid. But I appreciate you speaking to me in English today. That's great.
Thank you.
You bet. Well, hey, I'm sure that there are other people that would like to call and talk to you, and so I won't take up any more of your time.
Yep. My phone's been nonstop for the last 5 hours. So.
Outstanding. I'm very glad to hear that. I hope it doesn't stop for the rest of the day. So that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care.
Bye.